Hey guys, so for this video I want to talk all about wedging. So why is wedging important? So traditionally wedging was used as a way to expel air from clay before making things so you wouldn't have explosions in the kiln. So that's changed a little bit. Now that we have modern clay processing equipment, it's all de-aired. It's like the clay is processed under vacuum, just like a pug mill does. So there's very little air in the clay. Now, dealing with your own reclaim in your studio, if you don't have a pug mill, wedging will be really useful for that. But just know you don't have to wedge like your clay 100 times before you use it. I mean, that's like from ancient times. Sometimes people will tell you that. It's not very nice. so what are we really doing with wedging? And I think one of the main things that we're doing is clay tends to like gel in the bag. So if it sits in the bag and it doesn't get, disrupted at all, it'll get hard, but not through drying. So it will become thixotropic. It will gel and become more solid feeling, but if you beat it around on the table a little bit or wedge it, you'll end up with something that's soft and easier to work with. So that's really what wedging is doing for us, I think, for the most part, is it's really just breaking up that thixotropy from when the clay sits in the bag. That being said, it'll get air out really well if you do it right. So I'm going to demonstrate two distinct techniques. The first technique is the basic kind of rolling the barrel in the water technique, or the ram's head technique. And the second is the spiral wedging technique. So from this perspective, I just want to show you, I've just got 3 pounds of clay here. I just cut a piece off the block and I did wedge it up a little bit, but if we pretend it's square, all you would need to do is just beat the sharp corners on the surface of the table a little bit. That's important. I should talk about surfaces. So wedging, you don't really want to do wedging on a non-porous surface. So you can use plaster. This is a plaster bat I'm working on. You can use a canvas-covered table, although that's a lot of dust in your studio, and I don't recommend those canvas-covered tables at all. You can work on a drywall board that's got taped edges, although they do fall apart over time. Earthenware tile can be a nice wedging surface. You need something that's not going to hold a ton of dust, but is going to pull a little water out of the surface of your clay. So I prefer plaster, and most wedging tables are made out of plaster. It's easy to just make your own wedging table out of a bag of plaster. So what I'm going to do now, from this perspective, is just show you, I've got just a barrel-shaped piece of clay here. I'm going to put my hands on either side, and I'm going to just cup the top edge like this, right? So just like my hands make the negative shape and just cup that edge. And then I'm going to stand back a little bit and stand up tall, and I'm going to use my body weight to make the initial shape in the clay. So what we're going to do is push forward by falling. So stand back far enough and up high enough so that you can use your body weight as leverage, and you just fall forward. Now notice how my wrists are not like this, right? I'm not doing this and jacking my wrists like this. This will give you problems. You don't want to do this. So keep your wrists as straight as you can. Pull the clay up on the point that you just created and just fall forward again. And you can see what's happened here is the clay has folded over itself, right? So that's the goal with wedging, is you want to fold the clay over and over itself. And what happens is eventually all the clay in the center of the mass gets exposed to whatever the surface is that you're wedging on. So basically air bubbles will work their way out to the outside and then pop against the bat. So like the area between the air bubble will get thinner and thinner and thinner until it just pops, and that's how you get rid of air. That's how you expel air during wedging. And that process of churning is going to break up all that thixotropy I was talking about earlier. So, it's pretty useful. So let me do a few, just like 30 seconds of wedging here and just show you what it looks like. I'm just using my body weight to fall, and I'm mostly holding on the sides just with a little bit of overhead, like holding onto the top. So again, you can see all the folds that are starting to happen just by rolling this barrel over and over and exposing it to the bat surface. So the palms of the hands are on the sides, and just the heels of the hands are slightly cupping sort of the top and front. So you're kind of wrapping your hands around. the piece of clay, and then you're just going to step back a little bit and use your body weight to fall forward. Don't let your wrists kind of hyperextend too much. Keep them as straight as possible. What we're going to do is pull the clay up on the point and push it forward. How do you get a point, you might ask? Well, if you start with something that's cylindrical or barrel shaped, like this, the point naturally happens, right? Like, it's already a point, and actually you have to get it to being this sort of typical wedging shape, like this. So there's the barrel. So that's how you go about getting the point to happen in the first place. But the idea here is to just spin this barrel against the plaster surface or whatever wedging surface you're using, and let the clay fold over and over and over itself, and that's what you can see here. This is called ram's head technique because you can kind of see the head of a ram in it. Okay. So it's a very gentle forward rolling action. You don't want to do much on each pass. You just want to do a little twist. Just spin the barrel in the water just a little bit right here, and this is what will happen. And you can basically just continue that motion more and more gently until you roll that sort of tongue up and into a cylinder again. Hey guys, thanks for watching my wedging video. You can see here I have my two separate examples. The basic ram's head wedging technique, good for maybe up to 3 or 4 pounds. That might be pushing it a little bit. And the spiral wedging technique. This technique can scale up to 25 pounds. You can wedge quite a large piece of clay this way. So that might be another reason that potters really kind of typically wedge this way. The spiral wedging technique is, I think, a little more efficient. This is a great way to get started and to learn. And actually, this scales the other way. So this technique is not so great for larger amounts of clay, but like I can't spiral wedge 1 pound. My hands are too big. It just doesn't work. So I use this technique for like 1 pound, 1.5 pounds if I'm making cups or something. And this technique is like going the other direction. So larger amounts, smaller amounts. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.